Let's get it.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Just to get started, let me go ahead and introduce myself. I go by Doc Dickens. I'm a fashion designer here out in Portland, Oregon. Been really running it up for about 8 or 9 months now. And let's go ahead and just jump into it because I think we're talking about standards. Now, standards are like DMOs, something that you have to hold yourself to daily, right? If you don't hold yourself to your standards daily, right, you're actually disrespecting yourself. Mind you, standards are something that you hold yourself to constantly, right? And here's the thing is as soon as you start to leave your standards, you become, as soon as you raise your standards, right, the losers leave. But as soon as you lower your standards, the leaders leave, right? And you gotta think of yourself, right, as that same concept, right? Because as soon as you lower your own standards, that leader inside you leaves, right? The I don't want to call yourself a loser, but the loser inside you comes out like, yo. And one thing it was really crazy that they said is, when as soon as you start to disrespect yourself, you see yourself in a different light, right? And what do I mean by disrespect yourself, right? You have these standards, right? You can't let someone who's going to bring negativity into your circle. As soon as you let yourself bring negativity into yourself, into your circle, you lose that point of positivity within yourself. Why? Because you're supposed to be the person radiating positivity, right? And being the opposite of negative, right? So for me, I had to learn my own standards. It wasn't just natural for me just be like, okay, because I was just naturally living. I was living in the means of my emotions. Where you have to equate and take the emotions out in order to understand the standards you want to live by. So I've been able to come into this organization and learn from literally Mandy, learn from Cody, learn from these top leaders who have shown me what it takes to hold myself to a higher standard. And what did that make me? That made me a leader. Right? And what did that do for me? It helped me then establish that standard in my organization. Now people know when they come around me, there's a standard. Now, people know when they're in my vicinity, there's a standard that you have to pull by. And until you define your standards, until you have what it is that, what do I want to hold myself to, right? I think one of the things that when I first started, right, one of the things I really preached was acknowledgement. Until you acknowledge the standards you want to live by, you're living by the standards of somebody else. You're living by the standards of society. So you have to be able to acknowledge, right? So this call for me, right? I'm getting chills right now because this call for me is going to allow me not only to see where I'm at and the standards of what I have to get, because I get to actually learn from a P5K. I get to actually learn from a chairman 750, Mandy Rose, right? She has literally come in here, right, and been able to blow up her own success and then allow me to see that and duplicate that process. Now, the standards that she brings into her organization, I've been able to build my own standards on top of that, right? So when I get to bring this person up, the person who has literally moved mental mountains for me, the person who's put me in front of like the information that I need to be financially free, the person who's shown me the vision, the person who's fed life into me, energy into me, right? It's honestly an honor. So, if you ain't listening to me, you better get the notebooks out because, I ain't writing notes right now. I'm finna go grab my notebook, right? Because I need y'all to listen to Mandy, right? Because she's going to raise your standard. Mandy, take it over.
Sheesh. Yo, can we drop the word, just drop the word legend in the chat. Just drop the word legend in the chat, yo. Like, Doc is an icon, bro. Like, Doc is someone that you guys are gonna remember in a couple years, maybe even a couple months, to be honest with you. And you're gonna be like, that was the guy that was spazzing out in the yellow shirt on that standards call. This man is so different, and I'm so blessed to work with individuals like Doc Dickens. Like, for real, this is someone that is taking over a marketplace, that is an independent leader, that is a boss all the way around, who's coachable, asked me a million questions when he got started, but for good reason, because he had standards in his life, right? Like, he didn't want to pay for something that he wasn't going to get the full resources from. He didn't want to bring people into his business until he understood certain things about this business. And I respect you so much. I care about you so much. I see you looking for your notebook, so I love you. But what's good, everybody? For those of you guys that don't know who I am, my name is Mandy Rose. I am an entrepreneur from Los Angeles, California. I've been in this amazing solution to my life. I won't call it an opportunity. I'll call it a solution for about 1.5 years now. And this has absolutely changed my pockets, my mindset, my lifestyle, and just the way that I move, talk, and walk. I was always someone that held myself at a very high standard. But when I came into this business and I met individuals like Leanne Denoso, Matthew Cruiser, Kiani McGee, John Guaman, I started to really raise my standards, right? Because I realized that the people around me were just moving a little bit differently. The people around me had something that I wanted, and I needed to, just look at success, watch it, so that I could emulate it, I could innovate it. And so I want to start this off with just like a moment of reflection for every single person that's on this call. We're going to have some breakthroughs on this call. We're going to have some tough moments where we really self-reflect, right? Self-reflection is the key to awareness, and it's the key to improvement. But I really want everybody to take a moment up to this point to just think about a time where you wanted what you have now. Just take a moment. Think about a time where you really wanted something that you have right now, okay? And then I want you to think about the time that you got that thing, okay? Maybe it was a rank, maybe it was a biggest trading day, maybe it was a big deal in your life, maybe it was a relationship, maybe it was a health goal that you bet, but think about when you wanted that thing that you've already achieved. Now I want you guys to realize that when you achieve that thing, you wanted something more. You had a new standard. You unlocked a new level, right? And when you got to that next point, you either were like, okay, bet, I just had my first 4-figure trading day. Now I want my 5-figure trading day. Or you said, okay, perfect. I hit P600. Now I want P1000. And there's two types of people. There's the type A that they feel those feelings and fight or flight. They're just running through it, right? Kind of like ignorance on fire, just going for it. And then you have the other type of person who starts to have these limiting beliefs. They allow that voice in their head, that annoying voice in their head that all of us at one point or another have had in our head, that tells us, can you do that? Can you get there? Do you deserve that? So I want you guys, before I even get into the training, to ask yourself, are your beliefs currently holding you back from the life you deserve? How many times have you told yourself what you should do? Who on this call, type a 1 in the chat if you believe you have good ideas. Type a 1 in the chat if you believe you're someone that has good ideas. Like you might have had an idea for an invention and then somebody invented it. You might have had an idea for a party, right? A theme or something, and then somebody did it. And then you're like, damn, and you saw it. It was a great idea, but you didn't take action on it. People have an endless list of things on what they believe they should do or should follow through on. And these shoulds, they carry the same weight as a New Year's resolution. What I mean by that is that if it happens, it's exciting, right? But if it doesn't, it won't be too disappointing because you kind of knew it wasn't really going to happen anyway. Why? Why did that happen? Because you didn't raise your standards enough to make it happen. But what happens when you decide something is an obstacle? Something is not an obstacle, it's an absolute. What happens when you decide something is an absolute, a must, right? A synonym for absolute is must, a must. What happens when you cut off any other possibility than you succeeding? What happens when you upgrade your standards and you decide, I'll never settle for less? What happens? What happens when you raise your standards for your life and you turn your shoulds into musts, right? I used to when I first started singing, I used to record these Instagram videos where I was really like kind of like closet singer shy, and I would record like just the side of my face singing. And people used to say, you should record covers on YouTube. You should sing songs on TikTok. You should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, I should, but I didn't. And then came the day where I was like, yo, like I'm singing every day. Like I have to show people this. I must do this. And so I made this inner shift to take control of the quality of my life. And the same thing happened when I came into this business. I saw people investing and I always used to think I should be investing. People know they should be investing, but you have to make them see that they must be investing. They can't not invest. Why? Because they need to take control over the quality of their life. So when you decide to accept nothing less than the ultimate goal, you achieve them. Okay, you achieve them. So we're gonna jump into the training. I want you guys on your paper, on your notes, I want you guys to write down at the top, I want you to write the top 3 areas. So I want you to write down the top 3 areas to raise my standards. Top 3 areas to raise my standards. That's what it should say at the top of your paper, okay? Now, once you've written that down, just type a 7 in the chat. Top 3 areas to raise my standards. Okay? Cool. So most of us on this call in life have numerous areas of life which we could raise our standards, right? You start to work out a lot and you're like, oh yeah, I got to raise the standard in the gym so I could get healthier, so I could get, more fit. Then you start to raise your standards in your business, right? You're like, man, I need to start working harder so my career could take off. You start raising your standards in your relationships, right? In your love life, in your friendships, you go, man, I really need to focus on that so that can be better. And then I don't know if this happens to a lot of you guys, but you kind of start moving in a much different directions and then nothing gets fixed, right? Because you have all these areas of life which you need to improve. Now, this is why I broke it down into 3 areas, because there's a lot of things in my life that I could improve. I could improve my singing skills. I could improve my skills in the business. I could improve my skills swimming, playing a certain sport. I can improve a lot of things, right? That's the point. So there's numerous areas of our life which we could raise our standards, but these 3 that I'm going to give you are the most common, okay, in creating healthy relationships, finding a fulfilling career and a path, and improving our health, okay? So the first area that you need to raise your standards is relationships. So you're going to write relationships as number 1. Okay. Not only because this is a relationship-based business, but because in anything that you do, you need to have good relationships. If you don't have good relationships in your family life, you don't see your family. If you don't have good relationships in your friendships, you don't have friends. If you don't have good relationships with people at the store, then you're always going to be arguing with people at the store, people on the freeway, right? You need good relationships. Your relationships that you have in your life are a direct reflection of your standards, okay? So some people are in a relationship, but they aren't happy. Why? Because their standard is that they must be in any relationship. Not that they need to be in a relationship with passion and excitement and respect that cultivates joy and love, pure joy and love. Others may not be in a relationship because their standards is to never get hurt. How many of us have gotten hurt and you're like, I'm never fucking doing that again, right? So your relationships are a direct reflection of your standards. So what kind of relationships do you hold right now? I want you to ask yourself that. Someone said, LOL, me. It's true, right? I've been in bad relationships to where I was like, oh, I'm never going to be in another relationship. And then I've been in such a great relationship that I was like, I'm never going to settle for anything less than that. And because nobody could meet my standard, what that was, I just wasn't in a relationship. But all of us have different standards. Now, some of us will stay in a relationship because your standard is you don't want to be alone. But that's not a way to live at all if you're not being respected, if you're not happy, if you're not healthy, right? So that's number 1. Now, number 2 is your career. Okay. The second area that you need to raise your standards is your career. I went to a Tony Robbins event before I joined this business. That's actually where I got this idea for this training, because the event was called How to Raise Your Standards and Live a Better Life. And these were the 3 things that he taught me. He said relationships, career, and I'm going to get to the second one, but Tony told us at the seminar, he said, your income right now is a result of your standards. He says it's not the industry you're in, it's not the economy you're in, it's your standards. And so it really, at the time I was doing real estate, and it really started to get me to think. I'm like, okay, my income is a direct reflection of my standards. Okay, I'm not making the money that I desire. So I haven't reached the position that I want or I'm stuck in an unfulfilling career? Is it because I didn't raise my standards? Is it because I don't have standards? What are my standards? So I realized that in order to accept any offer that came my way, right, a good career, I had to raise my standards so that I could raise my worth. So when people come into your business, right, people are going to come into your business. And in the beginning of this journey, I'm going to tell everybody that's new, type a 1 in the chat if you're new, type a 2 in the chat if you've been in this for less than a year, type a 3 in the chat if you've been in this for over a year. Okay, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, 1, mostly 1s, some 2s. Okay, those of you guys that are brand new in this business, your standard in this business for yourself should be, number 1, you should want to get your education for free. And let me tell you why. You should at least want to go 2 and free, if not P150. Let me tell you why. Because you came into this business, okay, to make more money, right? Everybody on this call came into this business to make more money, yes? Nobody came into this business to lose money, to spend money. You came into this business to, yes, invest money. So let's talk about that really quick. What we're talking about standards. My standard when I came into this business was that I was going to make an additional income, an additional couple streams of income. Now, I had to pay $175 because I couldn't afford the elite pack. If you're on this call and you can afford the elite pack, get the elite pack. It's way better. But I couldn't afford it. So I had the platinum package, right? Standards. I had the platinum package because I couldn't afford it, even though I knew I needed the elite package, but I couldn't afford my monthly subscription. Now, I could have done 2 things, right? I could have said, hey, I can't afford it, so going back to the life I was living, or I could have said, yo, I need this. I'm at a point in my life where I have to learn this. Because I can't afford this, I have to get my education for free. Every single person that's on this call, even if you had the money to pay this, your standard should be to save money so you can make more money. Your standard should be to earn a residual income so that you can get paid to learn this skill set. That should be your standard, because you came into this business to be financially free. You came into this business to compound money. You didn't come into this business to pay. Now, I will tell you, even if I had to pay and there was no way around the monthly payment, would I still be here? Hell yes. Even if I didn't have the money, I would find the money. There's money everywhere, right? But I'm telling you guys that your standard should be at least going 2 and free in this business, saving you an average, let's say you had the platinum package, saving you $175 a month, 12 months out of the year, saving an extra $2,100 out of the year. Okay, now let's say I had the elite pack. I'm being real with you guys. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything, okay? $275. Okay, paying $3,300 for my education, making sure that I'm doing this. I'm not quitting. I came into this business with a 1-year mentality at minimum. I said, I will not stop until I get to 1-year minimum. And if at a year, this is not for me, then I will move on. But people come into this with a microwave mentality. In your career, you have no standards, so you're not getting any results. Now, oh, it's way easier than $1 million college scholarship essays. Yeah. And I went to 6 years of college, guys. So it's like, for me, I came into this business and my standard was, I'm not going to stop until I get what I want, which is learning what everybody else here knows. Okay. Your standard in this business should be to get your education for free, to learn 1% better every single day, to learn something new every single day, to have timers on your phone that get you on these trainings, to have timers on your phone or schedule it into your day that gets you on the go live. Your standard for this business should be to learn every single day something you didn't know the day before. Okay. So relationships, career, the third thing is health. Okay. Health. Our health is a result of our standards. So many people wish they were thinner, healthier, or buffer, more fit, but wishing for something and willing to actually take it on are 2 different things. So you're going to need to raise the standard for your health by making it a must. Tell yourself that you must get healthy, right? In order to live an extraordinary life. An extraordinary life. You're going to need to get healthy. My grandfather is 94, He's an absolute boss. I don't have a picture. I wish I could like pull up a picture for you guys to show you. He gets up every single morning and gets the paper after he prays and sits down, has his breakfast, and then he puts on his overalls every single day. And when he puts on his overalls, you know he's going to get to work. Papa's getting to work. And even if something's not broken, Papa's going to find something to fix. And when I was being brought up, I was brought up in a very religious family. I'm not religious at all. I'm extremely spiritual, but I'm not religious at all. And my papa used to say when I was growing up, because we were taught to live and breathe by Catholicism, right? And so my papa used to say something that I believe, even if you're not religious, still, if you believe in something, can really make you think for a second, because it used to always make me think. He used to say, and my nana used to say this to me too. My nana used to say, how can I expect God's strength when I do not embrace God's standards? And when my grandma used to say that to me, when my nana used to say that to me, it used to really make me think when I was a kid. She used to say, Mija, how can I expect God's strength when I do not embrace God's standards? And being younger, you're like, what the fuck does that mean, right? But you get a little bit older, and my papa, he even says that to this day, because my papa is very holy. My papa is not someone that you won't catch him lying, cheating, stealing, nothing. My papa is extremely holy. And so he said this to me. He said this to me a week ago or 2 weeks ago, because my papa is very old school, right? So I just moved out. I used to live with my papa. I just moved out, and he was upset that I moved out without being married. My papa believes that I should not be moving out unless I got me a hubby, okay? And love him to death, but I got a different kind of standard for myself. I'm not gonna wait on a man to take me into my castle. I'm about to go get in the castle by myself. So, those are my standards, but he did make a good point, okay? He said, how can you expect God's strength when you do not embrace God's standards? And when I heard that, it's like, I'm not getting mad or anything, but I'm like, Papa, talking to him. And he says, because my papa tells me like God is his source. And I have a point here, and I'm going to explain to you. This isn't a religious point. He says, how can I call God the source of, my standards, the source of my life, if he's not the source of my standards? So what I want you to take from that is, in this business, who is the source of your standards? For me, it's John Guaman. John Guaman is someone that I look at, and he's the source of my standards. Most people will set their own standards for what is right and wrong. And this is what my papa was explaining to me. He says, you're setting your own standards for what is right and wrong. And we can still have we're going to agree to disagree. But he said this to me, and I go, Papa, I can't argue with you because you're right. And I was like, and I love you, and I can't argue with you. But he said, how can you set your own standard for what is right and wrong? He said, I don't trust myself that much. He said, you really have to be perfect to have your own standards of right and wrong. And he was telling me I had to be perfect to set my own standards for right or wrong. And that's why he doesn't set his own standards for right or wrong. He looks at his source, which is God. So the same way, and this is my point, the same way that a lot of you on this call who do believe in God, right? You need God. In this business, you need to follow people like John Guaman to be your source. In this business, you need to follow someone that's bigger than you. You need to follow someone that's wiser than you. You need to follow someone who has more experience than you, someone who's been around longer than you, someone that's going to see things around the corner that you do not see, but they are your destiny. You can't occupy that seat. So in this business, and it's crazy because my papa, like, he's the truth. And he be saying things that I'm like, I can't even argue with you because you're right. So I told him, you're right. I said, just bless me on my way out, And so sometimes in this business, we actually will go crazy because we allow the non-believers, the family, the friends, the people in your environment that you haven't raised the standard around, we allow those people to set standards for us. We allow people to tell us that what our business ought to be and ought not to be. How can you allow someone to set a standard that's, if they're not even functioning properly? How can you allow them to set your standard? They're not even functioning properly. So who sets your standard? Is it you or is it somebody else? have you on this, have everybody that's on this call, have you even ever thought about that? Or have you ever thought about your standards, sat down and wrote down your standards? Have you ever sat down and wrote down your non-negotiables? Because a lot of you guys don't even think about it. You just inherited standards. So who sets your standards? Is it you or is it somebody else? Have you guys ever had someone that you used to know tell you they see your business, they see what you're doing, they see the way you're moving, you're not really coming around as much, and they go, my family told me this. They say, oh, you think you're better than us? And that's what people will say when you actually raise your standards. They'll say, oh, you think you're better than us? Yes. Yes, I do, because I'm raising my standards. And that can seem harsh and that can seem mean, but let's be real. Nobody came into this business to stay the same. Nobody came into this business so that their health, their relationships, or their career could stay the same. Really thinking about it. Really thinking about who in my life up to this point has given me my standards. Okay, let's talk about something very different in life. Let's talk about respect in your life. Okay, this is really big for me because I used to have a lot of friendships that I had a standard for the friendship, but they didn't have the same standard. And so my friendships were never really true. And in fact, I was always getting screwed over. I was always having friends that would backstab me, talk about me, hurt me. I had a lot of women in my life that would like hook up with my ex-boyfriends. I had guys in my life that weren't speaking to me like the way that they should be speaking to me. I had friends in my life that were not treating me right, that weren't true, that weren't honest. And I needed to take a moment to think about what kind of respect I was and was not going to deal with. So if you have ever entered into my life, anybody that's on this call, and you've ever seen someone disrespect me, what you'll notice is that I don't react to disrespect anymore, but I do correct it. And if it can't be corrected after I speak on it, then I will just literally leave the environment. I won't stay in that environment anymore. Look at my hair right here. This is crazy. I won't speak to that person anymore. And I'll just cut them off. And like Jock said, right? He said, you raise the standard, the losers, you raise the standard and the losers leave. You lower the standard and the leaders leave. I had people in my life that they weren't respecting the fact that we used to hang out all the time, but I needed to kind of cut myself off from them a little bit because I needed this to work. I kept telling myself when I came into this business, I need this to work. This has to work. I will make this work, right? Let me just mute that person. And when I had that type of standard, naturally, I was having people that were like, oh, you think you're better? Like, oh, you're doing that Forex thing, like really like disrespecting me. To the point where one day I called one of my best friends, and she called our group, she called Life by Design, she called trading, she called the Academy a cult. And most people, you know, when there's certain people in your life, you can kind of laugh things off, but I didn't think it was funny. And so I called her the next day after it happened, and I corrected her in the moment, and I explained to her, I said, look, you're one of my best friends. You're someone that means a lot to me, but this is something that actually means the most to me right now in my life. And if you can't respect it, you don't have to understand it, but if you can't respect the fact that I'm happy doing what I'm doing, if my light irritates your demons, then that's a you problem. It's not a me problem. Whatever reason it is that you're hating on what I have going on, that's not the type of relationships that I hold in my life. And I want to be your friend, but you're going to have to respect me or kick rocks. No cap. So there's certain people in your life that don't believe in what you do, but do you believe you can raise your standards to improve your life? Do you believe in this opportunity? Everything in life starts with you. And so I want you to write this down. There's 2 steps, right? Like literally 2 steps to raising your standards. Step 1, decide. Decide to raise your standards and make the choice. It's the only thing that creates lasting change is you making the decision. Now, step 2 is the second step. The last step is remove everything in your way. Remove everybody in your way, in your environment that doesn't meet that standard that you decided that you have. Most people will base their standards on their environment. Who you spend time with is who you tend to become. Subconsciously, we lower our standards. When you are around people with low standards, you start to become lower. So step 1 was just make the decision. And step 2 was rid yourself of every single person and thing that doesn't meet that standard. So when I say make the decision, not everybody's making the same decision. Everybody on this call has different standards. Some of us have standards on this call that we need to remove, and some of us have certain standards that we haven't inhibited that we need to. So that's a you have to search for that. I can't do that for you on this call. But what I can tell you is that if you turn this is what Tony Robbins said this was probably the most powerful part of the convention that I went to with Tony Robbins. He put on the boards or the TV or whatever, it said should versus must. So I want you to write that down on your paper. Should versus must. I should start being more consistent. I should be more confident. I should earn more money. I should be more involved in the community. I should become more serious. I should watch a go live. I should finish those academy videos. I should speak positivity into my day. I should say my affirmations. I should schedule my day the day before. I should raise my standards. Should. What about this? I will, I must, right? I must become more positive. I must become more consistent. I must get more serious about my goals. I must use a stop loss, for God's sake. I must treat this like a business. I must finish the academy. I must ask questions. I must get uncomfortable. I must raise my standards. So when he had us do this, everybody type I must in the chat. When Tony Robbins had us do this at the convention, it was one of the most powerful things because all of us go through those hard times of having the devil on your shoulder, having something whispering in your ear, telling you you can't do something, telling you something's too far out of reach, telling you it's going to be hard, telling you you can't, telling you you shouldn't, telling you you won't, telling you you're not going to amount to that. It's not going to happen. Even if you do, you got to outwit the devil and you have to upgrade your standards. When you raise your standards and you turn those shoulds into musts, you're making an inner shift to take control over the quality of your life. You guys want to hear something funny? We're all told when we're younger that we have to wash our hands, right? We have to wash our hands. It's freaking dirty. You don't. You're going to get sick. Wash your hands. You're in the restroom. Wash your fucking hands. Now, people, this is what's crazy. People waited until there was a pandemic to start listening to that. Y'all, did you guys notice that when the pandemic happened, you'd go into the restroom and there was no fucking soap? Why has there been soap all these months? What have y'all been doing? You guys haven't been using this stuff? Like, let's be real, right? And so it's funny, but it's dirty, right? Like, y'all should have a standard in your life where you make an inner shift. All of us have an inner shift, I would hope. That every time you use the restroom, you wash your hands. Every day you wake up, you brush your teeth. I would hope that you have taken over that control over that part of your life, right? Now, if you made that same inner shift with prospecting and every single day you prospected, why? Because your standard is raised and you must do it. You can't go to sleep until it's done every fucking day. Imagine what your business would be like. Imagine if you told yourself every single day, I must learn something about trading before I go to sleep. Even if I can't get on that go live, I must get on that trading call on the system. I must ask my mentor to pour into me so I learn something new about trading. It doesn't matter what area of life it is. Any area you're not getting what you want is because you haven't raised your standards and you haven't turned your shoulds into musts. So everybody type upgrade in the chat. Everybody type upgrade in the chat, right? When our iPhone starts to get really slow, I don't know about you guys, but my iPhone's been moving really, really, really slow. You need an upgrade, right? You need an upgrade. I broke this nail. I need an upgrade. Okay. Like bad, like real bad. Okay. But nobody's going to come and just do it for me. You have to do it. You have to have a standard for yourself and you just have to start. How long will you tell yourself I should have? How long will your shoulds be later? When it's comfortable, when it's easier, when it's convenient, when it goes your way, bro, you can be waiting forever. I must. Do you find the way and get it done? Yes or no? What's your must? What's your standard? Everybody's got to upgrade yourself. Personal development and these kinds of calls is like an upgrade on an iPhone. iPhone starts getting better. It has new features. You're unlocking new things. But suddenly the phone just starts moving so fast. Your messages are getting sent. Your pictures look clear. Your Instagram is popping. Everything's going great, right? Because you upgraded. But then a new version comes out. And guess what? They're never going to stop sending us new versions of this. So in our life, we can't stop upgrading our version of ourselves. We can't stop upgrading our minds, our bodies, our careers, our health, our relationships. So I want you to write these, a couple of things down, because a couple of you guys a lot of us on this call, we got work to do. Okay. So define your standards. I want you to write it down. Define my standards. If you can't define your standards and you're just shooting at a target you can't even see, no point. It's like when people start trying to build this business and don't have a list. It's like when people start to trade and don't have risk management rules. You don't have a standard and that's why you're not getting ahead. You're just trading to trade and that's why you're not getting ahead, because you don't have a standard. You don't know what you're aiming for, and that's why you were $200 up in profit and then it went and it smacked stop loss because you didn't know when to say when. In this business, you're attracting people that are low quality at a low standard because that's how you're living. But when you raise your standards, when you start to say, I will not take that trade until I understand my risk. When you start to say, I will not sign up that person until they understand what they're getting themselves into, because this is a commitment and this is my business and I'm building $1 billion brand and this is not to be played with because that's my standard. Watch how the results hit. So number one, define your standards. Now the second one, set high standards. When Doc said, you lower the standards and the leaders leave, you raise the standards and the losers leave. I don't know about you guys, but I'm running with the runners. If I'm running too fast and you can't keep up, it doesn't mean that I'm going to leave you behind, but I'm not going to spend as much time with you as you need me to, because I got to run too. I'm still going to be, when you get to the finish line, like, okay. But I got to run. And so you're either running with me or you're running behind me. And if you're running behind me, I'm not telling you can't run too, but I'm trying to run with people that can meet my standard. I'm trying to race. I'm really trying to race. A race is not fun by itself. I'm trying to take Star on the race, Bailey on the race, Eric on the race, Stephanie on the race, Cody on the race, Doc on the race. Doc's right behind me. Doc's right behind me in my ear, like, oh, I'm coming for you. And I'm like, bet, just go for it, have faster. Cody's right behind me, like, yo, I'm about to pass you and lap you. Cody told me that. Cody told me he was going to lap me. He was going to beat me to chairman. I said, I hope you do, but you won't. But I hope you do. Right? I want my team to lap me. I want them to have the standard of, oh, I'm coming for you. Yo, I don't know if Kiani McGee, Leanne Cruiser, Even John are on this call, but I'm coming for you. I love you. You set the pace. I see it. You're the coach, but it's time for me to get into the game and show you that I could coach too. So every single person on this call, this dash that we're doing in this life, you got to define your standards, set high standards. Now here's the next part. This is important. When you build a team and even for yourself, you got to communicate the standards. Write that down. I got to define my standards, set high standards, and then I got to communicate the standards. If I have high standards, but I don't tell Doc what that standard is, then he can't meet that standard. Me and Doc and Chris and Cody, we all had a conversation. We had a retreat. We went to a leadership retreat. John set a standard for me when John took me to the Platinum 2000 retreat. I saw what he did. I saw what it did to his business, and I saw what it did to me. I felt what it did to me inside of me. It turned me up. That retreat, I got to be on a yacht. I got to be in a mansion. I got to be in proximity. And I was like, I will not lower the standard that I want to live my life to anything below this, because now I felt this. I can't go back from it. I can't go back from it. You get in a relationship that actually feels great. You're like, oh, I can't go back to what I had before. You find a friendship that's actually like helping you, like reciprocating. You're like, oh, I can't go back to those other friendships. So when John showed me a certain type of leadership, when Leanna and Cruiser showed me a certain type of leadership, like really being in the trenches, guess what I'm showing Doc? Guess what I'm showing Cody? Guess what I'm showing Ashley? Guess what I'm showing Bailey? Guess what I'm showing Star, Nikki? The same standard. I'm communicating to my leaders, to my team, the standards that we have. Okay, now the next one, the fourth one, there's 5 here. Define your standards, set high standards, communicate the standards. The next one is enforce the standards. Enforce, that's a kind of an intense word. Enforce the standards. How do you enforce something? How do you enforce something in your business? Obviously you can't, this is a volunteer army, no cap. We can't force anybody, but we can compel by leading by example. Boom, Tasha got it. We can make people want to implement it by showing them. That's how we enforce it. We show them. And the last way to really implement these standards in your business, in your life, is you got to coach the standards. So you're going to enforce it. Most people are not going to know how to do what you do. And then you have to coach them through it. If you don't coach them through it, they're going to get lost on the way. So we defined our standards. We set our standards high, right? Because we're not going to communicate anything that's not a high standard. We're all going C750 on the call. You communicate that standard, you enforce that standard, and you coach that standard. So let me set a standard for everybody that's on this call. By the end of this year, okay, everybody on this call should have goals written down. Actually, no. Take that away. By the end of this week, I don't know why I'm giving y'all like 3 weeks. So we got 24 hours in the day. We can get this done in a day, right? What's easy to do in a couple of weeks is easy to do in a couple of days. We're gonna raise the standard. By the end of this week, I want you guys to write down what are your values in your business? What are your standards in your business? And who will you be when January 1st comes? Who have you already became so that the rest of the year your standard does not bend? What are the non-negotiables? What are the things that you won't allow and you will allow in your business and just in life, right? Because you need to become the trader and the leader who has a higher standard in order to succeed. So I made the commitment when I came into this to ask for help and to hold myself accountable. And then every time that I got, to where I wanted to be, I would reflect. I'd get to P6 and go, okay, how did I get here? So that way I can teach someone else to get here. Everybody on this call, you can transform the organization. You can transform your family. You can transform the world if you have a higher standard, if you have higher expectations for yourself, if you're always looking to improve, always looking to grow. So I've raised my standards on my health, on my focus and my discipline, on my boldness, my courage. Sometimes people go, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you go up there and you speak at an event and stuff. And I'm like, yo, I'm scared. But I've raised this standard in my mind where I'm like, even if you're scared, guess what? You're still gonna do it. Even if you're tired, guess what? You're still gonna have to do it. Even if you start to feel defeated, you're gonna have to do it. Guess why? Because you already set the standard of, I will never give up. Never, never. I will never doubt my capability. I have a standard. I have a standard in my life of kindness and love. And that's why my business is built so quickly. That's why I'm duplicating so many people into my business. Because at the end of the day, I could tell you guys, the skills do pay the bills, right? The skills do. The skills really do pay the bills. If you know the 7 skills, right? If you know the 7 skills, how about this? First person to write in the chat the 7 skills, I'll cash up you $10. Let's see who knows it. If you know the 7 skills, oh, Doc's going for it. If you know the 7 skills, you have to write it all in one message, not separately. Okay, all in one message. That's the standard. You have to write it all in one message. So type it all with commas and then $10. If you know the skills do pay the bills, but it's kindness and love that's going to help you guys to really get to the next level. It's kindness and love that's going to help you to attract the right people. It's kindness and love to yourself. Look, and I'm not saying just kindness and love in who you're speaking to. I'm saying, are you kind and are you showing love to yourself? Wow, Leanne actually texted me it and she said, I win. Leanne, you're supposed to write it in the chat. She did win though, look. She cheated. Oh, Zach Brook, inviting, prospect, presenting, closing, following up, launching, promoting, bet. Send me your cash app, Zach, and I got you. Congratulations, Zach. Now, when I say kindness and love, I mean not only in your business, but for yourself. If you love yourself, if you care about yourself, you will respect yourself. If you love and care about yourself, then you will raise your standards and you will start to move a little bit differently, because instead of meeting other people, you're going to let other people meet your standard instead of lowering yours to meet theirs all the time. People don't come around me and I adjust to them. People come around me and they adjust to me because I'm holding myself at a very high standard. So raise the standard. Let the losers leave. Don't lower the standards. Don't let the leaders leave, because at the end of the day, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really looking for the leaders, not the losers, right? We're all looking for leaders in our business. So I hope every single person on this call got a little bit of value. Before I let you guys go, I'm actually, hold on one second. I'm gonna pull something up real quick. Hold on one second. Okay, bet. All right, before I let you guys go, I want everybody on this call to feel bad for me. My Instagram got hacked. And I want to connect with every single person that's on this call. So this is my new Instagram. Follow me on the gram. Show me some love. It's pretty dry. I'm not going to cap. I had 30,000 followers and it's gone. All my content's gone. All my reels are gone. But I think I'm hoping that the reason for this is either A, it's going to come back, or B, God just is trying to let me know I needed to raise the standard on my social media and, rebrand and start fresh. But show me love, guys. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Doc, I appreciate you. I love you. So raise your standards, guys. Have an amazing, amazing day. I'm going to talk to you guys soon. And I'm going to see you at the top because the bottom, way too crowded. Let's get it.